Hello, I'm LuNEJuNE, and in today's video, I'll be trying something new that I've never done before, I think. I am going to just plainly talk and explain everything that I know and think of Devil Sword's nerf. Now, I know most of you are wondering, hey LuNEJuNE, you already explained most of it in your update review/summary video. I already understand how Devil Sword works now and how it was nerfed. I get that you already understand what got nerfed in Devil Sword, but I don't think you guys understand why it was nerfed. And I'm going to use my random dice theory brain to hopefully make a conclusion to why they chose to nerf the AoE damage, the activation timer, and even the pip count. Let's dive in. First, I will start off with my own personal thoughts and feelings for this nerf. I think it's a well-deserved nerf as I stated in my update review video, but I also think it might have lost some charm. Well duh, cause it got nerfed, it's not as powerful as before. But there is more than what meets the eye here. I think the dice was nerfed in a good way. I mean it. It no longer can get to berserk waves too easily anymore. Hopefully PvP meta shifts and adapts to a new age of Devil Sword. However, I think they could have done more to make this dice stand out from the rest and actually make it unique. If you guys disagree with me or any other viewers who comment their own thoughts, please don't harass and simply leave your opinion down in the comments below. I want to hear what you guys think of this balance change and see if we think alike. I personally rate this update a 7 out of 10 just because I think Devil Sword could have been reworked a little differently. The problem that I'm going to present to you might be different from what you thought the problem with Devil Sword was originally. I have seen countless amounts of messages, comments, and overall callouts saying Devil Sword dice is too powerful, although most people didn't specify on what type of nerf it deserves, but the general consensus was that the dice needed a huge nerf. And I agree on that. What I don't agree on is what some people were proposing for the nerf. Most, if not all, who spoke out that Devil Sword needed a nerf and proposed something said that the damage should be decreased as it is way too overpowered. I do agree on the fact that the damage is ridiculous, but I don't necessarily think the damage was the issue here. Now this is where it gets confusing, and this might actually sound like I'm going off topic, but there are other dice that deal way too much damage for their well-being. Such dice as Predator, Recharge, Soul, and many more infinitely scaling dice. There are 10 legendary DPS that have infinitely scaling damage mechanics. These are Solar, Gun, Combo, Star, Recharge, Storm, Rage, Predator, Soul, and Devil Sword. I have excluded percentage dealing damage dice such as Atomic and Holy Sword as they are already infinitely scaling based off of monsters' HP. But each of these dice has a flaw. I would like to make separate categories for each of these dice based on their attack type. There is the ramp up dice containing Solar and Rage, and the stacking dice which are Gun, Combo, Star, Recharge, Storm, Predator, Soul, and Devil Sword. The ramp up damage dealing dice which are Solar and Rage have a slight problem. I am not sure about Rage, but Solar definitely has infinite damage. It just needs time to ramp up. However, we don't have enough time to ramp up all of the damage to kill a single boss. This is why Solar doesn't feel infinite enough to get to extremely high waves only by itself. The other category, which is the stacking category, has two subcategories within them. Those dice that pip count counts towards damage a lot more than it stacks, and dice that require stacks to deal most of its damage. In short, a category where an external source is more important, and a category where the stacks are actually more important. The first category contains dice like Star and Storm. These need high pips to deal massive damage, and the stacks are there, however, they don't contribute as much as their pip count. The rest of the pack mostly all rely on their stacking mechanic. Combo needs lots of stacks to gain additional damage. Soul needs soul stacks to do the same thing. There is a catch, however, and that is the fact that these aren't truly infinite and therefore truly not quote-unquote broken. Combo needs constant merging. This could mean that board limitation can be its roadblock, or SP can be its limitation as well. Gun dice is, well, gun dice, and gun dice where gaining stacks are kinda hard in this day and age, and it always shifts its tile to someplace else, so I guess that's its limitation. Recharge also needs SP, so the lack of SP later on is its limitation. And also the charge speed is incredibly slow later on. Soul really doesn't have a good limitation, as the more soul stacks you have, the more damage it will deal. However, the way you get soul stacks is simply just to kill incoming mobs and getting the stacks. Soul dice actually have an infinite source. However, soul is also not infinite, as the game is balanced well enough so that the amount of soul stacks don't follow the amount of damage 1-to-1. This means the game is designed so that soul stacks don't match with the damage and HP of the bosses that come later on. In other words, soul will eventually die due to lack of damage. That is just how the game is programmed. Predator, on the other hand, is a different problem. Predator not only needs a constant source of dice and pip to sustain itself, but also the attention of its user as well. This is really similar to our Devil's Sword's problem. Devil's Sword also needs constant pip management and attention. Both Predator and Devil's Sword deal incredible damage to say the least, and they both require a lot of stuff going on for them. But here is the main difference. While Predator in PvP needs a decent setup to actually get going, Devil's Sword doesn't. While Predator eats other dice, deleting them completely from the board from the start, Devil's Sword doesn't. Devil's Sword simply enhances the performance of the chosen dice by a crap ton and will lower its pip count after it's done. So surviving early game, although mechanically similar, Devil's Sword is much more easier to survive than Predator. So what is Devil's Sword's problem? It is exactly that. It is not the damage itself, as mentioned earlier that other dice also can have similar damage, but the fact that it is so easy to use with nearly no risks involved. That is the problem. Not the fact that it has damage to survive up until Berserk waves, but the fact that you don't need much to survive in the first place. Hello, this is editing LuNEJuNE here. I just wanted to add a little bit more information on this. So basically, I did explain that Devil's Sword, well, you don't have a lot of risks and whatever, but also the reason why people don't use Predator anymore in PvP is because it's too hard. It's just too hard and not, strong enough anymore, right? So although Predator is probably the highest dealing damage dice in the game at the moment, other than maybe Devil's Sword, Predator is still Predator. It's still not viable in PvP because it just cannot survive early wave. It dies easily by other decks. It just gets countered easily. I don't know, I just wanted to throw that out there. I didn't really explain why Predator died in the first place in PvP, because Predator was definitely meta back in the day, and that's the exact reason. Another problem with Devil's Sword is that the player no longer needs to care about their damage. This could sound strange, but Devil's Sword deals way too much damage for no risks or attention that players don't need to bring in a separate DPS dice. This allowed many players to bring offensive dice such as Assassin, Phantom Thief, Royal, and more to harass the enemy until the game ends. We had similar DPS dice like this such as Typhoon way back in the year 2020 and Lightning Cloud. These dice all enabled single damage output that can last a good while until the aggro kills off the opponent. That is how it worked. However, these dice all had their own flaws, and that was that it couldn't survive for more than 5 waves. This meant that the aggro users had a ticking time bomb on their hands, where if they don't finish off the opponent with their offensive playstyle, they would lose due to lack of damage. This is how the game was balanced. Long-lasting decks couldn't bring offensive dice because they needed all the dice to help sustain the board for long matches. On the other hand, short-lasting decks would die way earlier, but would bring offensive dice to cripple the enemy to defeat. A good balance. The exception being Flow, and now all of a sudden long-lasting decks like Solar Lunar was able to bring offensive dice as well. That is a story for later. Meanwhile, Devil's Sword acts very similarly to Typhoon and Lightning Cloud, where it's a reliable single damage output dice where it buys time for the player to attack the enemy with projectiles and special abilities. However, due to the massive damage of Devil's Sword, players found themselves having more time than ever to attack the opponent. The time bomb simply wasn't there for aggro decks anymore. Even if you failed to kill the enemy, you always had a next chance. This meant defensive setups had to endure the pain and suffering of offensive dice for many waves. I'm now going to move on from the problem topic and go on to explain the three main nerfs for this dice. They nerfed the AoE damage for Devil's Sword. This is because, well, Devil's Sword did a ton of damage. Once again, this is not because the damage was insane, but because you could obtain and unleash that damage output with basically nothing. As compared earlier, Predator needs a decent setup and a decent pip count to actually start dealing heavy damage. But Devil's Sword only needs 2 dice. 1 pip Devil's Sword and 1 pip whatever that shoots. Some of you might say, well, if you eat a 1 pip dice with 1 pip Predator, wouldn't that make it the same then? Not exactly, as Predator eating another dice risks that dice being gone forever. Let's just say, what if you needed that extra dice to survive? And during the first few rounds where you don't get much SP in the first place, each dice is crucial to your early survival. However, Devil's Sword just doesn't care. If you get a 2 pip that fires anything, Devil's Sword can be used for 50 seconds with that single 2 pip dice before the nerf. Nerfing the damage was a good choice as it requires players to be more strategic on how they use their Devil's Sword. In fact, according to some players, you can no longer just choose a Joker dice to be the DPS and expect to survive and kill bosses now. You almost always will need wind dice or anything that shoots quick in order to use Devil's Sword properly. The damage nerf was a good option as it forced players to use it smartly and to actually take risks. In addition, they made it so that you can no longer just get to berserk waves with only 1s and 2 pips all around the board. They changed the activation timer to be shorter. This might look like a nerf at first glance, as you get less Devil's Sword's master ability per pip count. However, due to the fact that the ability timer has decreased by 60%, you can increase the level of Devil's Sword 60% quicker now. It just demands a lot more pips than before. I think this is a good change as it makes players focus more on build up just to use Devil's Sword's ability. And the game now rewards the players who can manage their board and pip count better with faster Devil's Sword level up rates, resulting in more damage than before, according to Class 9. Definitely a good change that most players might not understand. I hope this clears things up a little bit. What they also changed about Devil's Sword is its pip reduction system. When an odd number pip count dice was selected as the master dice for Devil's Sword, the Devil's Sword will lower the pip count by half but give 1 extra just so that the player can get some benefit out of it. To give you an example, a 6 pip reduced by half is 3. However, a 5 pip also will get 3 pips even if they slice it down by half. It also applies the same with Leon, as when Leon strikes, let's just say, you have 5 dice on the board, it will only strike 2 dice instead of 3. Most things in random dice that have the slicing in half mechanic does this so that players can easily get back to where they were at previously. However, Devil's Sword just changed the whole playing field by actually decreasing it down to half and more. Devil's Sword will now no longer give that extra helping pip and will brutally take away whatever it can. 7 pip will be a 3 pip, 5 pip will become a 2 pip, and 3 will become 1. Since nobody really cares about that, and everyone will care what pip count is more efficient, the most efficient is a 5 pip, as 5 will turn to 2 and 2 will turn to 1. You can get 3 abilities with a 5 pip dice. A 7 pip dice will also only get 3 abilities, so using a 7 pip is unnecessary when you can do the exact same thing with a 5 pip. But what is even better than that? A 4 pip is better, since a 4 pip can also get 3 abilities while being easier to obtain for the player. Here's a small chart that I handmade to visualize for this video. I hope this helps. Enough said. So is this a well-deserving nerf? And what could have been improved? I think this is a very good nerf. However, if I was in charge, I would personally keep the old damage as usual, but make it so that it will take away 3 pips instead of reducing the pip count by half. The reason why Devil's Sword came out to be so overpowered was because people can spam assassins, royals, silencers, phantom thief, or just about anything while not having to worry about the damage. I would also keep the 25-second activation timer that we had previously and not the 10-second newer timer. That's just my thoughts, and if you have any questions or have any other opinions, feel free to comment them down below. I hope you enjoy this rant-like video. It's my first time trying this format of a video, so I don't actually know how many of you would actually like it. Stay safe, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.